Good evening. Welcome to the June meeting of the Niskayuna Zoning Board of Appeals. Ms. Ketty, when you have a chance, can you call the roll, please?
I didn't hear her. Did she call my name?
Yes.
Mr. Lataif,
I'm here virtually.
Mr. Trimarchi's not here yet. Mr. Green,
Present here.
Mr. Antonikowski.
Here.
Chairperson Hoke.
Here. Good evening, everyone. As you can see, having meetings in the middle of the summer, sometimes it's difficult to have a full 7-person board that you're entitled to as a matter of law. So when your matter is called before us, you're going to have an option this evening as to whether you want to proceed tonight before the 4 members that are presently here to hear your matter. The issue with that is that we're capable, because there's 4 members present, to proceed on the applications this evening. However, you'll require all 4 votes to be in the affirmative in order to get your variance approved. If any one of the members present does not vote to approve the variance application, the variance will be denied. If you have the full 7 members here, it increases your odds because you only need 4 of 7 to approve the variance. So when you're called up, the first thing I'm going to ask you is whether you would like to proceed this evening or not. And then once that decision is made, we'll either hear your matter or we will hear it next month. I do understand that next month there are no matters currently on the calendar. So you'd be called first the following month in any event, and there are no additional fees associated with having the matter put over to the following month. With that being said, the first order of business is a review of the May meeting minutes. I do note that all 4 members present tonight were also present in May. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Having heard no discussion, is there anyone who would like to make a motion to approve the May minutes?
Mr. Hoke, I make a motion to approve it.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Is there any discussion on that motion? Having heard none, Ms. Shiketti, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lataif,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Antonikowski.
Yes.
Chairperson Hoke.
Yes. Ms. Shiketti, will you call the first matter on the calendar this evening?
The appeal by Vital Sign and Graphics, Inc., agent for a variance from section IH column 7-1 of a schedule IH column and of schedule IH column 7-3 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskayuna as it applies to the property at 1769 Union Street, Niskayuna, New York, located in the RP Residential and Professional Zoning District, for a facade sign which exceeds the number of signs allowed, exceeds the size limit allowed, and does not conform with construction materials allowed. Schedule IH column 7-1 states that for non-residential uses, 1 wall sign is allowed per principal building, which shall be attached to the building and shall not protrude more than 1 foot from the building face. Such a sign shall be single-face sign and shall not exceed 8 square feet in area. At the March 17, 2017 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, the board granted a variance for 5 additional wall signs and a 2-foot projection variance for a blade sign and a variance for 285 square feet of facades sign area. As proposed, this 1 additional wall sign measuring 105.4 square feet, therefore a variance for 1 wall sign and a variance for 105.4 square feet of sign area is required. Schedule IH column 7-3 states for non-residential uses, all signs shall be approved by the planning board for size, construction, and lighting. In general, the following standards shall apply. Sign surfaces shall be of wood or masonry construction with painted or raised messages. The number of separate colors on the sign shall be limited to 2 plus white, and the sign lighting shall be limited to direct external lighting. As proposed, there will be one additional sign, wall sign constructed of aluminum and acrylic with internal illumination. Therefore, a variance for one wall sign of aluminum and acrylic with internal illumination is required. 32 notices were mailed, 0 responses. We received a county referral and a planning board recommendation.
On May 24th, 2024, the county stated that they defer to local consideration. There is no significant countywide or intercommunity impact. On April 30th, 2024, at a regular Planning Board and Zoning Commission meeting, the Planning Board reviewed the appeal by Jamie Calarutolo, agent for Capital Cardiology Associates of 1769 Union Street, and made the following recommendations. Effect on the comprehensive plan. The Planning Board voted 5-2 that the proposed variance would have no effect on the comprehensive plan. One board member supported their vote of no effect by stating the zoning ordinance anticipates proposals for signage beyond what is allowed in the code and empowers the Zoning Board of Appeals to review and take actions on such requests. The 2 board members who voted that the proposed project would have an impact on the comprehensive plan based their votes on the fact that the applicant is a tenant and is not the owner of the building, which could lead to more tenant signage in the future. They felt the proposed signage does not fit with the residential focus of the comprehensive plan. There was too much signage, and the plan does not encourage such signage. For suitability of use, the Planning Board voted 7-0 that the proposed variance was not suitable for the use in the RP Residential and Professional Zoning District. They noted that special circumstances were recognized and considered when the building signage was initially approved. Significant variances were granted for the number and the size of facade signage for the building owner, Albany Med. The board states that they did not think a variance for additional signage for a tenant was suitable. They noted an address sign may be acceptable for wayfinding purposes. Recommendation, the Planning Board voted 7-0 to recommend that the Zoning Board deny the variance as proposed.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are you both going to speak this evening?
Maybe.
Okay, well, why don't you state your names and address for the record, please?
John Bulmer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They can state their name and address for the record first. You state your name and address for the record?
John Bulmer, 15 Dormy Avenue, Mechanicville, New York, 12118.
Jamie Coloratolo, Vital Sign and Graphics, 251 Saratoga Street, Cohoes, New York.
Okay, so once we start here tonight, you know you have the right to seek to adjourn the matter until the next meeting. Again, you would have 7 members of the board present at that time, and you would only need 4 affirmative votes this evening. You'll need the votes of all 4 members in order to proceed with the application. So that being said, how do you wish to proceed?
We'll proceed.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the need for the sign and what steps you've taken to mitigate the size and scope of the sign. It appears that there's multiple issues that could have been mitigated with respect to the sign. Maybe you could explain how you've attempted to do that.
I believe we have. My name is John Bulmer. I'm the Public Information Officer for Capital Cardiology Associates. I oversee all branding, signage, and media and public communications. We recently opened an office at 1769 Union Street. We were denied by the zoning board on our initial proposal to install a 27-foot lit logo high on the building. I've worked with my sign vendor to come up with an alternate design that addresses some of the concerns of the board and still provide us the much-needed street-level presence that our cardiac walk-in clinic needs. We are a specialty medical practice, not a generalized walk-in clinic. We accommodate cardiac patients that urgent care practices can't handle. The AMC urgent care within the building refers patients to us. On-site, we have a bariatric surgeon, cardiologist appointments, a diagnostic testing suite, and a cardiac walk-in clinic for people suffering from potential cardiac symptoms. We fast-track these patients to see a cardiologist and expedite any necessary diagnostic testing. This allows them to get the help they need the quickest possible manner without sitting in ER for hours to be referred to a cardiologist. This is a vital need for the community. The building is heavily branded for Albany Medical Center. However, we are not part of the AMC system, nor do we appear anywhere else with them. There is no pre-established connection with AMC or its facilities. As you can see, the lack of external branding is detrimental to patients locating the office, especially those seeking walk-in service. In fact, the prominence of the AMC branding inhibits potential patients needed for critical help in finding our location. Our original zoning board hearing, it was stated that the building number was adequate for people looking for businesses. There are 2 points here. The building number at 1769 is high up on the building, and it's hard to find from the street. Additionally, there is no street number on the monument sign in front, which is heavily branded AMC. As the person who sees every review and suggestion for our practice, I can tell you that people look for logos, not street numbers, especially older patients with whom we have many. To address the concerns of the zoning board, we are proposing a much smaller sign to be installed on the stone facade directly over our office, on street level. It is a drastic reduction in size, originally proposed from a 27-foot sign to about 14 feet, but would provide crucial street level visibility for patients and residents looking for access to our walk-in clinic. It is directly over our space, letting people know exactly where to go. I kindly ask you to consider a smaller, less obtrusive sign with the concerns of the board in mind. I can take any questions you have.
So let me just clarify here, the sign that's displayed on the monitor over there, you are not requesting that signage any longer?
No.
Okay, you're requesting what is,
I have comps if you want them.
I don't know, there's another, Laura, could you advance the package a little bit? I think there's another image with that's what you're requesting?
No.
No. This will be on the front of the building on street level, much smaller over our office.
Okay. Do you have images? Is the image of that in the packet that I missed?
No, we haven't heard of that.
Okay. All right, you like to,
Is this different than what the planning board heard? So as procedural matter, this board requires a referral from the planning board as part of the process.
Mhm.
And we don't have one.
For what you're asking for.
Okay.
Uh,
So what would that require? A new permit from the planning board?
So you need to revise your application to the planning board so that they can make a recommendation on it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not ripe for this board to hear.
That's fine.
So without commenting on the fact, on the merits of your application, procedurally, we're just not there yet.
Okay. So we resubmit to the planning board with a new design, comp, and everything like, just start the process over again?
that's correct, because it's not even really before the zoning board. The application that you have before the zoning board doesn't actually even include what you're seeking right now.
Sure. We made the changes based on their,
No, I understand what you're trying to do, and I appreciate that. In fact, we started off with requesting information on how you've attempted to mitigate that.
Mhm.
So, there was a determination by the planning board that was unfavorable to the application. So if you had an opportunity to go before the planning board, that might be beneficial to you as an applicant as well. So
Okay.
I think just the request is to start there, and then you can come back here at that point in time.
will do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Mr. Ketty, we call the next matter, please.
Mr. Hook, I know there were some people in the audience probably that were listening for that case, so can we just, I'll just let them know that it'll be back to the planning board on July 8th and then probably back here at this meeting at the end of July. So if you guys want to call us, you can call us.
So-
meeting's on July 8th?
The planning board meeting, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But make sure
And-
you make your submission so that the planning board packet can be distributed with the new information.
Absolutely.
Well, and just so the public knows, I think we would
So,
take the
Ms.
public comment
Yeah.
at the next.
So what Ms. Robertson is indicating, that if anybody is here from the public that wish to speak relative to that application, you'll certainly have an opportunity to speak if and when the application comes back before the zoning board. But I think she's saving you the need to hang out and hang around. Yeah, it will be renoticed.
We would have to renotice because it'll be a different square footage. So you guys will get it in the mail again. Yep.
Okay, you're welcome to stay, but if you don't wish to stay, that's understood as well. Although I think hanging out at a zoning board meeting is a lot of fun. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Kay, will you call the next matter, please?
Appeal by Jeffrey Stringer for a variance from section 220-32.3C1 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskuna as it applies to the property at 3483 Rosendale Road, Niskuna, New York, located in the R2 medium residential zoning district, to create an accessory home care unit on the property in a detached structure. Section 220-32.3C1 states location: an accessory home care unit may be located within an existing single-family dwelling or in addition to that dwelling in the R1, R2, R3, and LC zoning districts. As approved, as proposed, the accessory home care unit would be located in a detached garage not within an existing single-family dwelling or in addition to that dwelling. Therefore, a variance from this section is required for its location. 8 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Sir, will you tell us your name and address for the record, please?
Jeffrey Stringer, 3483 Rosendale Road.
Mr. Stringer, do you wish to proceed tonight, given the parameters of what I've discussed previously?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little about the need for your variance, as well as any steps that you've taken to mitigate the scope of the variance?
The property is a historic structure. It's built in 1843. And it has many inherent difficulties. The major problem is my wife's health. She suffers from fibromyalgia, which is not a disease, it's a condition, but any pain in her body is exacerbated, and she's reduced to being unable to climb stairs, bend over, do many of just ordinary tasks. We have gotten her an electric staircase. It's a very small house. It has but one bedroom, which is upstairs, and the bathroom. The kitchen is very small, and she has trouble working in it. She's a very small person, but nonetheless, it's very difficult for her to handle and manipulate old things. The house is very cold. It's a brick house. It's solid brick. There's no insulation in any of the walls. I have insulated the attic, but in the winter it's very cold on her, and she has also a condition called Raynaud syndrome, which means that her fingers and toes and feet can get paralyzed from cold, and she just literally can't bend them. And we're not talking cold, we're talking about room temperature at times.
Mr. Stringer, how is I assume that the garage is an existing structure?
I built the garage in 2001, I think it was. That's it.
So how is the conversion of the garage into an accessory home care unit going to assist you and your wife with her medical condition?
She has a great deal of difficulty going up and down stairs, and she also has been taken to the ambulance on occasion, and it's been very difficult for the ambulance to get her down the stairs. It's a very small staircase, historically appropriate, but nonetheless very difficult to navigate the head of the stairs. It's probably not compliant with current code.
So is it contemplated that your wife is going to live in this in the accessory home structure?
Yes, the home, that drawing is the original of the construction of the garage. That's taken after at Cooperstown. That's a copy of the carriage house next to the inn. It's appropriate time-wise. The end of the cottage, the building, the garage itself, was a replacement for the 6-stall garage that was there. It had been a commercial property. It had been a coal yard in the 19th century and also the 20th century, early 20th century. And then it was an oil processing facility, store, selling facility. The thing was that the building was in collapsing, and I replaced it in kind. That is, that's a plan view of the house.
So the garage that I'm seeing here, it's a four stall garage, correct?
Three stalls.
3 stalls?
There's 3 stalls, and each end is larger.
Okay.
And it was made that way at the time to make a storage facility, an art studio for my wife. She was painting when she was younger and capable. And
So,
So-
Mr. Stringer, let me just see if I understand. The conversion of the existing garage, externally, you're not proposing to do anything different, right?
no,
You're proposing to change the use of the garage from a traditional garage into a home accessory care unit. Is that correct?
almost. The 3 stalls would remain, 3 stalls. It's just the end storage facility that would be converted to a dwelling.
Okay. And externally, though, there wouldn't be any changes?
No.
Okay. I'm going to ask if any other members of the board have any questions, okay? Do any of the other board members have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. Thank you, Mr. Stringer. I can understand the difficulties that may require that this be done, but so regarding the work that's going to be completed here, who's going to be doing that work?
Myself.
Regarding the heating, because it is detached from the house, what type of heating is going to be in that home care unit?
So seating?
Heating?
Heating. The heating system is already in place. It's to make her studio. It's hydronic in the floor. It's a BCI unit on the wall. It's gas.
It's a gas heater.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
There's a
Mr.
wood-
Hope,
I'm sorry.
Hold on, Mr. Lateif. Mr. Green?
Good evening, sir. Richard Green. Help me if you can. In the wintertime, when there's, as there usually is in the Northeast, a lot of snow, how do you propose to be able to assist your wife in a meaningful manner? Should she require it, should this application be granted? Because basically what I'm seeing is, and I'm inviting you to talk to me a little bit, you're moving her out of the house and into the garage. You're going to be in the house.
No. It's 400 square feet.
Who's going to be residing in the house if this application is granted?
No,
And you,
we have no intentions of having anyone in the house.
Yep.
Um,
where are you going to
We
be?
spend the depth of winter. My wife is from Florida. Her family lives there. Her father just passed a year ago this July,
I'm sorry for the family's loss.
but we do have a house there that we're hoping to sell.
So what you're telling me is my question doesn't really fit in your wife's circumstance, because should the application be granted, should she be living in this dwelling as you're proposing, it's not going to be in the wintertime. It's going to be in the more clement, warmer upstate weather.
It's perfectly comfortable, spacious place. I mean, there's no problem with the winter. The fact that it's on the ground level and ambulance service is, you know, right there. Um, that's the predominant motivation for asking this.
Yep.
It's just going in and out of the house. It's much nicer. The house is super, the space is super insulated. It's got 10-inch walls and 12-inch ceilings.
All right, so let me, if I may, I don't mean to interrupt, but I will. Is this going to be a year-round situation if your application's granted?
It could be,
Okay,
but we have no intention of having anyone else live there.
I didn't ask that. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out where the two of you are going to be during winter. Are you going to be in Florida or are you going to be in New York?
We normally do Christmas to Easter in Florida.
Okay. Now,
But-
the next thing is during the times that you're usually here in upstate New York, which would be at your residence, explain to me how you see it working if your spouse is in a separate accessory home care unit and you are in the residence.
Oh, no, I would be living with her. I have to take care of her. I
Okay.
have to prepare the meals and do those things.
Yep.
As I initially said, the house is 1843 and it needs a great deal of work.
You know, so you're going to be abandoning
No,
the residence in effect so that you can spend time with being physically present with your wife, who you're telling us
right now.
Needs help.
Yeah. No, she can be left alone for periods of time,
Yeah.
but she does have gets kind of a medical person, you know, gets kind of personal talking about her medical when she's not here, but she's kind of forgetful. One of the things about fibromyalgia, and usually what precipitates her ambulance trips is that she'll over medicate because she doesn't remember,
you know,
and it always evolves around her blood pressure dropping.
I'm going to cut you off because you're right. I appreciate the discretion
Yeah,
that
thank you.
a person would have with regard to describing the details
Uh-huh.
of a person's situation, a physical situation. And I'm not so much interested in that, but I am concerned that there's going to be this residence and now no one's going to be in the residence.
Well,
And
no,
just hold tight.
I'm sorry.
And that you're going to be spending, and correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of your time with your wife who needs assistance in the accessory home care unit, should the application be granted.
I think I would have to answer in the affirmative your question. My first responsibility is to my wife. The second responsibility is taking care of the house and trying to renovate it. At present, I took the furnace out and I've replaced it. So the downstairs now has radiant heat, which is greatly improved the livability of downstairs. But the upstairs I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
And last winter we lived with electric space heaters upstairs and the furnace downstairs, and the house was very comfortable. It was expensive, but it was very comfortable.
You know,
The forced air had never been as comfortable as that
Yep.
hydronic system. Again, it's the same unit that I have in the garage now.
May I inquire, would you be preparing meals in the residence to transport into the accessory home care unit?
No.
Or do you anticipate making meals in the accessory home care unit?
Yes, it's kitchen compatible. Yes, there's water there now.
In a bathroom?
Yes. As a step-in shower area envisioned.
You know, is there a way that you could envision this working for you and your spouse if you were to make certain modifications or alterations to the primary residence and then not have to make this request for an accessory home care unit?
Well, it's, the accessibility to the building is still, it's 5 steps up to get to the house on the front. And it's 10 steps in the back, which is Riverside,
Yes.
because the property is right on the river.
Oh, yes. I went on the path and as
Yes,
best as one could see, I took a look.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
um,
Have you given consideration to a ramp to ameliorate the difficulty of the steps in the front and the many larger steps in the back?
it's still the interior staircase,
You know,
which really thwarts any use of the house. As I say, it's only 1 bedroom, so it's kind of like if I put her downstairs in the dining room, then we don't have a place to eat because the kitchen is only 6 foot by 8 foot.
you know,
And that includes the counters, the stove, and the refrigerator. It's a very small kitchen. The building is a cruciform Greek revival. It was built in 1843 by Matthew and Gertrude Winning. And the original kitchen was in the basement. It's really quite interesting house. Denise, my wife, wrote a book about the house, and the town historian has a copy, which precipitated the plaque that's now in front of it, the house on the bike path side. That was her gift to me one year for my birthday, and I've always been very flattered by it. The book. She describes the house and what it was like living in Niskuna. Matthew and Gertrude Winning were very prominent people, very prominent. He was a state legislator.
oh, yeah.
And her family were among the original, they were the Groats. And the property came inherited from her grandparents when they married. They both lived into their 90s. They're buried in the Reformed churchyard up at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Very interesting people.
So this home is very important to you and your wife is what I'm in part getting from what I think you're trying to share here.
Yes, I came to it. I spent my whole working career at the State Museum. So taking care of objects is really kind of like been my whole life. And she just fell in love with the place. And the restoration of the house, I can't do with her in it because her many conditions, she has respiratory conditions. So dust is a problem. She has the Raynaud syndrome. So not keeping it hot enough for her is a problem. And then
I'm going to
forgetful. And
I'm going to jump in because you've covered these points. I've been listening very carefully. I want to thank you for your patience with me in addressing the questions that I've asked.
Oh.
I'm good. I'm good with you.
Okay.
Thank you. You've answered my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Stringer, just to circle back on a couple of quick issues with respect to the existing garage with the living quarters attached to it. Does that currently have a bathroom in there?
yes, it does.
Is there currently a kitchenette or a food preparation area?
Yes.
It's currently heated.
Yes.
Okay, so what additional changes or modifications do you need to even make to the structure in order to reside there as you contemplate it?
Having spoken with Tom, it just needs a review for code compliance.
Okay, so other than that, you don't anticipate doing anything to the property substantively?
Only what's necessary.
Well, what's necessary?
The stove has to be replaced.
Okay. And is it also true that one of the ancillary benefits of this living arrangement is it'll give you the opportunity to restore the home without anybody being in there?
For me, that's the primary goal is to be able to work on the house.
And
It's a secondary goal. The primary goal is to take care of my wife's needs.
The secondary goal is to work on the house.
No, that's secondary. The primary is to take care of my wife. She's just,
Understood. And is it also possible that at some point in the future, when the renovations of the home are complete, that it's possible that you'll be able to
Move back in?
move back in.
I'm hoping so, yes.
Okay.
I have plans for the house if I live long enough.
And you don't have any plans to rent out either structure?
No.
Okay.
I was a landlord once, never again.
All right, thank you. That's all I wanted to ascertain. Mr. Latif, do you have anything?
Yeah, between you and Mr. Green covered a lot, but I have a couple questions for
Mr.
Laura.
Stringer,
Laura,
Mr. Latif is.
no.
But I can't hear.
Can you speak up, Mr. Latif? Because,
Yeah.
Just where the speakers are.
can you hear me?
Yes.
go on,
I can-
Mr.
he can-
Latif.
Okay, this question is for Laura. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Laura, the question is, if we approve this accessory home care, is this gonna be permanent on this property?
No. So under our code, if the zoning board was willing to grant an area variance to allow it to be detached from the home, they would have to register annually with the building department. It's free, right, Linda?
No.
Oh, it's
Minimum fee.
$25? Okay. And they have to pay $25 and they take out a building permit for the accessory home care unit. We keep track of it while it's being used, and once it's no longer needed, they don't renew and they have to take a demolition permit to remove like the kind of minimal living quarter things. So at the end of the day, when the accessory home care unit was no longer needed, you'd have to basically remove the kitchen.
Okay, and one more question, Laura. How did this come about that Tom had figured out to tell them they have to do that?
It was a neighborhood concern.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Laura. Mr. Stringer, back to you. You heard that you have to renew this once a year.
Yes.
Do you think, and I heard you say that you are renovating your house and eventually you will be moving in there. So what's the plan? Is you're thinking renew it once a year and then when you don't need it, you're not gonna renew it anymore?
Probably.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yes. I mean, my intentions are to follow the code as needed.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hope, I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Latif.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I answer that? okay?
Yes, I think so, Mr. Stringer. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard for or against this application? Sir, if you want to just have a seat. Sir, why don't you come forward and tell us your name and address for the record?
Hi, my name is Mike Casella. I am Mr. Stringer's neighbor. I've been there where I live. I'm at 3477 Rosedale Road. I've been there 33 years. And there's two reasons why I think this variance should be denied, maybe more than two. First of all, this unit, this healthcare unit, Mr. Stringer spends his winter in Florida, Mr. and Mrs. Stringer in Florida. This unit, which somebody was living there all winter, it's already been rented out. One of my concerns is that he had this prepared. He knows this. He knows how the codes work. He knows about, when I came here 2 years ago for a building permit, Mr. Stringer informed everybody that I had a carport that didn't have a building permit for 27 years. So he knows what's right and what's wrong. With that being said, I don't trust him. And I think this is going to be an Airbnb of some sort. Mrs. Stringer, I see her walking around, taking care of the dogs. She's not sick. I mean, we all get old, of course, and there could be a time when she is sick. But this is a bunch of BS. This is a rental unit, and I don't want it in my neighborhood. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sir, Mr. Casella, what leads you to believe it's going to be a rental unit?
It was already a rental unit
What
all
leads
winter.
you-
There was a woman living there. She wasn't the caretaker. The people that live in the house adjacent were the caretakers. She never stepped foot in that house.
All right, thank you, Mr. Casella.
You're welcome. In the future, a future owner could easily turn it into a rental unit as well. If Mr. Stringer was to. leave
No,
that
Mr.
property.
Casella, I think we've already addressed that situation that he has to
Nah,
apply.
I
on
don't
a-
trust him.
Well, Mr. Casella, it's not a matter of trusting Mr. Stringer or not. It's a matter of the code requires him to apply on an annual basis.
Well, I
to
think it should be
make
denied to start with. We could nip it right in the bud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casella. Um, I think you've already answered, Laura. There's no, this couldn't be used as an Airbnb, correct?
No, our code wouldn't allow that. And also, again, the demolition permit would require that once the accessory home care unit wasn't allowed. Yeah, the issue at stake is you're allowed to have accessory home cares in your house. You're just not allowed to have them detached.
And in the event that the town became aware that it was being used as an Airbnb, the town would be able to.
Enforcement.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard? Mr. Stringer, if you'd briefly like to respond, that's fine. If I just ask you to limit your response
Yes.
to what Mr. Casella indicated.
The woman that stayed there this winter was a dear friend of my wife's who suffers from MS. And she'd suffered great financial hardship upon selling her house. She had no place else to live. Our house is too cold to live in and much too expensive to heat to her needs for the winter. So my wife offered up the space for her
Thank you.
at no rent. It was gratis. We even paid for the heat ourselves. We received no compensation whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to be heard for or against the application? Having heard no other members of the public that wish to be heard, is there anyone on the board that wishes to make a motion to approve or deny the variance application? No one having made a motion, I will move that we approve Mr. Stringer's variance application. Mr. Stringer's articulated the benefit that he's seeking to achieve by virtue of the accessory home care unit and the justification and reason for locating it outside of his home. We have long held that this board has long held that aging in place is something that we value and place emphasis on. We believe that not only doesn't create an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, but actually enhances the neighborhood by allowing our senior citizens to remain in Niskayuna and remain in their homes to the extent that that's what they wish. And I believe that this variance will assist in accommodating that. I do believe that the variance request is substantial. I don't believe that it's going to have any adverse physical or environmental effects. As Mr. Stringer indicated, all of the changes to the structure are occurring internally and cannot be seen from the outside as from what is currently in existence at the residence. I do note that the alleged difficulty was self-created and that Mr. Stringer should have applied for the variance prior to establishing the structure. That being said, that's not dispositive with respect to Mr. Casella's concern, as Ms. Robertson has noted, in the event that the property was, or more specifically, the home care unit was placed as a rental, that would precipitate additional enforcement mechanisms. We've also discussed with Mr. Stringer the need to apply on an annualized basis to continue the accessory home care unit. Unlike many of the variances that we contemplate, this variance does not run with the land and only lasts on continual 1 year for 1 year periods. So for all those reasons, I vote to approve the variance application. A motion has been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to second the motion, and I just want to add to what you specifically said about the renewal once a year, and I'm hoping that Mr. Stringer only uses it for the purpose of taking care of his wife and no other reasons. So we don't have to put the town in a situation where we have to use other way to close it down. So for all the reasons stated and why I said, I second the motions.
A motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Having heard none, Ms. Shickety, will you call the roll?
Mr. Lataif,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
With the specific acknowledgement by the applicant that this is year to year, that specifically for the difficult and challenging medical circumstances of his spouse, in addition to the reasons stated by Mr. Lataif and Chairman Hoke, I vote yes.
Mr. Antonikowski,
Yes, I'll also emphasize that, this is conditional based on the year-to-year renewal. The facility and the home care unit is code compliant on a yearly basis. And for the other reasons stated, yes.
Chairperson Hoke.
Yes, for the reasons stated. Mr. Stringer, your variance has been approved 4-0. Thank you. Mr. Shickety, we call the next matter on the calendar.
Appeal by Lynn Coles for a variance from Section 220-13, Schedule IC of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskuna as it applies to the property at 2254 Dean Street, Niskuna, New York, located in the R2 Medium Density Residential Zoning District, to construct a carport partially within the side yard setback. Section 220-13, Schedule IC requires a 15-foot minimum side yard setback. As proposed, the addition would be located 5 feet from the side property line at its closest corner. Therefore, a 10-foot side yard setback variance is required. 9 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Ma'am, will you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Lynn Coles, 2254 Dean Street, Niskuna, New York.
Ms. Coles, will you tell us a little bit about the need for your variance and what steps you've taken to mitigate the
Yes.
variance?
We hired a surveyor and he drew out a picture for our carport so that we could have our car set back and away from the elements. And the best he could do is within 5 feet of the boundary lines. We discussed it with our neighbor before we proceeded and they were okay with that.
Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Linda didn't catch you asking if she wanted to proceed with 4 members.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I do want to proceed with 4 members.
Do you want to proceed?
Yes.
I apologize.
Okay. The structure would be in compliant with the existing structures in our neighborhood. We have a lot of houses that have 2-car garages and houses that have carports themselves. There are a bunch of our neighbors that are within 15 feet of their boundary lines. This would be a structure that would not be, or that would be more than 15 feet closest to the closest structure, which is our neighbor's side bathroom.
Okay, so you currently have a garage, correct?
Correct.
And what do you do with the garage?
I park my car in it.
All right,
My husband gets the driveway.
all right. And looking at your house from Dean Street, that's the front of your house, correct?
Correct.
And to the right of your house, you have a neighbor there?
Correct.
And that's the neighbor that you discussed the matter with and they didn't have an issue with the carport?
Correct. They signed the affidavit I submitted as well.
And with respect to the carport, what do you propose that the carport will be made of?
What it would be made of? I don't remember. I know it's in the survey. Sorry. Vinyl, microlam, white aluminum wrap around the post.
Who is installing the carport for you?
Breeze Carpentry.
Okay. And how many years have you lived at the property?
22 years? 21, almost 22.
Okay. And you've gotten through 21 years without a carport. Why do you need one now?
Well, we want it now because now our daughter has a car. So we have 3 cars. And the carport would allow us to kind of hide one of the cars again. And when she does move out, we'll still have a car that would be sheltered from most of the elements.
Okay. Are there other members of the board that have questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lefebvre, got a question.
Mr. Lataif?
Ms. Coles, question for you. You mentioned the neighbors, they have carport nearby. Are they, how close are they to your home?
Oh, they're down the street. On Dean
And do
Street.
they have a single garage and a carport?
Yes.
Okay, and there's any way, why do you need that carport? So, any way to get the size reduced, or that's the only size that will fit the car?
That's the only size that would fit a car.
Okay, what's the width of the carport, do you know? Because I see
20 feet.
22,
Or, is that the carport?
22 feet from the house to the outside, so we don't, your fence, so am I assuming it's 12?
I'm sorry.
Because you got 22 to the side, to the fence.
To our
From
neighbor's
the-
fence? You're talking
If
about
you
my
look
neighbor's
on the,
fence?
from the porch, it said 22 to the fence. 22 feet.
To the,
I believe the proposed carport is 20 feet in width.
it's 20 feet in width.
That's a 20 feet. In width, so
See, but-
there's any way, go ahead.
Well, I'm showing the diagram that Nick is looking at. It's measuring 22 feet from the porch. This,
Oh, that's the
Measurement.
porch behind the house.
yeah, and then it's measuring 10 feet from the carport to the lot line. So 22 minus 10
Yes,
is
So
12.
that tells me it's 12 feet, Laura.
Yeah,
yes. Sorry. I
So
didn't realize where he
it's
was looking.
not 20 feet.
I'm just looking at the engineering drawings.
Yeah.
Mr. Lataif?
Okay, so are we agreeing it's 12 feet? Carport?
Well, can we just bring
Laura?
up can we bring up Laura, can you bring up the engineering drawings? So.
Mr. Hope, I just want to confirm if,
Yeah,
sorry, I put
Ms. Coles, I'm looking at the carport here, the engineering drawings, and maybe I'm not an engineer, so these things sometimes
Yeah,
escape me.
no, I see it because he has it on the one diagram.
that's a longitudinal section. It's misleading, but the peak of the roof is facing to the side.
Mhm.
So it's 20 feet deep,
Oh,
but
that's
12
20
feet
deep.
wide.
20
Yeah.
feet deep and 12 feet
Yeah,
wide.
it's actually the peak of the roof is facing to the side.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so we clarifying it's 20 deep, and it is 12 feet, the width, and that makes sense because from the back of where that porch she has, it's 22 feet minus the 10, so that's a 12 feet for the porch.
Yes,
Okay, so we're agreeing it's 12 feet, so that makes sense because if it was 20 feet, I would say that would fit 2 cars.
yes.
Okay, so we're good on that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hope. That's it. That's why I wanted to clarify.
Are there other questions from other members of the board?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Your neighbors, as you face the front of your house to the right, do they have a carport?
Which one are they talking about? No, no,
Yeah. And as you're facing the front of your house to the people to the left, do they have a carport?
no.
All right.
They just have a garage.
Oh.
And the neighbors across the street have a 2-car garage.
Well, thank you. You read my mind. Thank you so much. No further questions.
Mrs. Coles, I just have a couple of questions. Thank you for coming out. Can you tell me, because I'm just having a little problem with measurements in my head. So from the edge of the carport to the Holes bathroom, how far is that approximately?
To the structure?
To the structure?
I didn't measure, but I know it's more than 15 feet.
More than 15 feet?
Mhm.
Okay. From the property line, do you know how far the Holes structure is?
The-
5 feet, 10 feet,
Maybe 20 feet,
20 feet?
maybe 15. I don't know.
Okay. And then just one more question regarding the drainage on the carport.
Mhm.
What type of drainage system will be implemented on the carport itself?
It would have the gutters that leak down. We have a existing gutter that flows underneath our driveway and carries it out to the ditch that goes into the sewer.
Okay.
So we're going to connect it to that.
In the pitch of that carport, it pitches towards your backyard. Is that correct? Or to the side?
To the side,
To the side,
I think.
towards the Hall's house.
Yes.
Okay. It
Front
does.
and back?
Okay, it does. Okay. Yeah, I just
I
had
can't read this diagram.
a
I'm
little
sorry.
a little trouble with with the diagrams. I'm just trying to grasp the where it pitches, but it does pitch towards the back. It has the gutter system installed. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any members of the public that wish to be heard for or against this application? Yes, sir. Why don't you come forward and tell us your name and address for the record?
Good evening. My name is Nick Mazzucci. I live at 2251 Dean Street for 45 years. I have absolutely no problem with the carport. It really doesn't impact the house property. I'm across the street from it, so I would see it all the time. And the edge of the driveway where the cars are now, it's not going to be materially different from where the carport's going to be located. So I have no objection. And you guys should really just approve it.
Sir, do you have a carport at your house?
No.
Do any of your neighbors have carports? The neighbor to your right or to your left, do they have carports?
No. Next door to me, they have the two-car garage.
They have the two-car garage.
The carports are further down on Dean Street.
Okay.
Next to their house is a street, actually, on the other side of the house, opposite from where the hulls are. But,
Okay.
yeah, there's a scattering of carports. It's not a big deal.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, just a reminder, because I know it gets a little confusing sometimes, but carports are not a violation of zoning. You can put a carport up anywhere on your property as long as it's not within the setbacks.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anything else you wish to add, Ms. Coles?
Nope.
I'm going to ask if there's any members of the board that wish to make a motion to approve or deny the application.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
Uh,
Lefebvre.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the variance, and it looks like to me the applicant neighbors have no issues. We have reached out to everybody, and we didn't see any problem from anybody. The benefit couldn't be achieved by any other way because they have a single garage, they have 3 cars, and it looks like they are in need of this carport. And as Ms. Robinson said, the carports are allowed in the area. The only thing is a setback, and it looks like there's a fence there, so it's not gonna be a problem to the neighbor. And it's not gonna cause any undesirable change in the neighborhood because there is some other carport in the area. Is it substantial? Usually, you know, a 10 feet is substantial, but in this situation, they still have enough room to get around the carport in the back and to the porch. Whether the ledge difficulty is self-created, it is self-created, but again, in this situation, they are in need of a place to store a car, and this is the only way they can do it to keep it out of the winter and so on. So for all these reasons, Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve it.
A motion's been made. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion. I do agree with Mr. Lataif. I don't see an undesirable change. I mean, there's support from neighbors both across the street and adjacent to the home. I do consider the request substantial based on the amount of setback it would require. I do believe it's self-created, although it's not determinative. And I don't believe the benefit can be achieved by another means. I mean, with 3 cars in the driveway, it's difficult. So, and it appears that there's not enough room in the first garage, and a car's already parked in there. So, for those reasons, I would second the motion to approve.
A motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Having heard none, Mr. Kenny, will you call the roll?
Mr. Lataif?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
I am really sympathetic to your plight. I sometimes call it car circus, where a person's got to move in to get the other person out. You got a young person with another car. But I am concerned here, not just because it's a carport and because I didn't see a lot of carports in the immediate vicinity of your residence when I did a site inspection or when I drive or go through the Dean Street neighborhood in the Niskayuna portion of Dean Street. My concern is, and you deserve to understand why I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote. I truly believe that this carport may indeed be an undesirable change in the neighborhood character. And while your neighbor across the street is, we wish we would all have a neighbor like he appears to be. It's, I believe, something that could, in addition to my concerns about the specific challenges here and it moving close to the property line of your neighbor, could mushroom into changing the neighborhood. The truth is, for better or worse, there are other places in this world that have lots of carports, and Niskayuna is not one of those places. And as far as I'm able to ascertain from my specific site inspection of your house and the neighborhood, and having lived here for longer than I want to admit, I am going to have to vote no. I'm sorry, but that's my vote.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes.
Chairperson Hoke?
I'm also sympathetic for your situation. I would have also been a no vote. I am a no vote for similar reasons. I appreciate that the carport is allowed in Niskayuna. There's nothing in the code that prohibits you from having a carport. However, we're dealing with an area of the town in which the parcels of property are relatively small, and they can't accommodate a carport within the setbacks. And because of that, allowing on a case-by-case basis carports to be put on smaller parcels of property, I believe would create an undesirable change in the neighborhood. It also the carport runs with the land. So once it's granted, it can't be taken away. And although you have, it seems like you have a really great neighbors that you live around who are supportive of your application. I'm sympathetic to the need for the application. In the future, the people may change. The owners of the homes may change. They may not be as sympathetic as the current neighbors are to the issue of carports. Or alternatively, they may come to this board and also want carports in violation of the setbacks. And again, echoing what Mr. Green said, that's a slippery slope that would change the character of the neighborhood or potentially change the character of the neighborhood. So for those reasons, I am also a no vote. And unfortunately, your variance application has been denied by a vote of 2-2. Mr. Ketty, will you call the next matter before the board tonight?
Appeal by AJ Signs, agent for a variance from section IH column 7-1 of the schedule and schedule IH column 7-3 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskuna as it applies to the property at 2546 Balltown Road, Niskuna, New York, located in the RP Residential and Professional Zoning District, for a facade sign which exceeds the size limit allowed and does not conform with construction materials allowed. Schedule IH column 7-1 states for non-residential uses, one wall sign is allowed per principal building, which shall be attached to the building and shall not protrude more than 1 foot from the building face. Such sign shall be single-face sign and not exceed 8 square feet in area. As proposed, there is one wall sign measuring 36 square feet. Therefore, a variance for 28 square feet of sign area is required. Section 1, Schedule IH, column 7-3 states for non-residential uses, all signs shall be approved by the planning board for size, construction, and lighting. In general, the following standard shall apply. Sign surfaces shall be of wood or masonry construction with painted and raised messages. The number of separate colors on a sign shall be limited to 2 plus white, and sign lighting shall be limited to the direct external lighting. As proposed, there will be one sign constructed of aluminum and acrylic with internal illumination. Therefore, a variance for the wall sign constructed of aluminum, acrylic, and internal illumination is required. 13 notices were mailed, 1 response, a county referral, and a planning board recommendation.
The county referral on May 24th was to defer to local consideration, no significant countywide or any inter-community impact. The planning board referral on April 30th states that at a regular planning board and zoning commission, the planning board reviewed the appeal by Tom Wheeler, agent for St. Peter's Health Medical Associates, and made the following recommendations. Effect on the comprehensive plan. The planning board voted 5-2 that the proposed variance would have no effect on the comprehensive plan. 1 board member supported their vote of no effect by stating the zoning ordinance anticipates proposals for signage beyond what is allowed in the code and empowers the zoning board of appeals to review and take action on such requests. The 2 board members who voted that the proposed project would have an impact on the comprehensive plan based their votes on the fact that the applicant is a tenant and is not the owner of the building, which could lead to more tenant signage in the future. The proposed signage does not fit with the residential focus of the comprehensive plan because it is too much signage, and the plan does not encourage such signage. Suitability of use. The planning board voted 6-1 that the proposed variance was not suitable for the use in the RP residential and professional zoning district. They supported the vote with the following reasons. Too much signage does not fit with the residential area, and significant pedestrian foot traffic associated with the neighboring school would be at risk from distracted drivers. The Architectural Review Board recommended following the industry accepted practice of using one large building facade signage for street address identification, only with a monument sign for signage associated with the individual businesses within the building, and a monument sign currently exists. 1 board member suggested the applicant work with the property owner to create a comprehensive facade sign proposal consisting of facade signage for all the tenants occupying the building. The board member who voted that the proposed sign was suitable for use stated a sign a little greater than 8 square feet for a single tenant was acceptable to them, but they were against such a large size, 36 square feet of the proposed sign. Recommendation, the planning board voted 7-0 to recommend that the zoning board deny the variance as proposed. The letter that we received today from 1919 Pawtucket Avenue, Dear Niskuna Zoning Board of Appeals. This letter is on behalf of 2551 Balltown Road, the house that my father built across from the subject property and in which I grew up. The property has remained in the family for 70 years, thus I am very familiar with this part of Balltown Road. I have seen many accidents in this area. There has also been property damage when vehicles have landed on the lawn at 2551. Sometimes the drivers leave an unsigned note that they will come back and repair the damage. Only one actually did so. The requested oversized sign would not be a welcome sight to any residential property. It would face west to the properties across the street. Balltown Road runs north-south. Residents on Balltown Road shouldn't be subjected to such signage either. More important than the aesthetics is the safety concern. This part of Balltown Road is very busy. It is not just the volume of traffic, it's the turns in and out of the properties on this stretch of road. Adjacent to 2546 is Craig Elementary School, then the soccer fields. Across the street from Craig is the JCC. There is a pedestrian traffic between these sites and bicycles in addition to the many motor vehicles, including school buses. To cause people to look up at the third floor of the building rather than keep focus on the road and traffic strikes me as a recipe for disaster. At best, it's an unnecessary hazard. Accordingly, I oppose granting the variance. Sincerely, Leslie P. Gold.
Is the applicant present this evening?
Yes, I am.
Sir, can you state your name and address for the record?
Yep, I'm Tom Wheeler with AJ Sign Company. We're located at 842 Saratoga Road, Burnt Hills, New York.
Mr. Wheeler, you heard the spiel that I've been giving all night. You need 4 affirmative votes for the variances to be granted. You also have the ability to carry the matter over to the next meeting, in which hopefully we would have more members present for you. It's your decision as to whether you want to proceed this evening or not.
Yeah, we'll proceed.
Okay. Why don't you tell me a little bit about why, is there someone from,
St. Peter's? No, there's not. Just me tonight.
okay, well, can you tell me why St. Peter's needs such a large sign?
Yep, this case is very similar to the first case that we started to hear on Union Street. This is
Well, let me just stop you. When you say it's very similar, is it similar in the sense that you have revised the plan that's not in our packet this evening?
no, not at all.
Okay, so it's not similar in that respect.
This is another cardiology practice. So this is a cardiology practice where people will go and they'll see their doctor, but there's also a cardiac urgent care located within the practice. So if you're having chest pains or issues or that type of thing, you can go there as an urgent care and you will get in to see your cardiologist. So the reason this sign is the size it is, if you look at the building, there's some trees, so we need to get up above the trees to the 3rd floor. And that also puts us, the building's about 130 feet off the road. We did look at some smaller size signs and they're just not readable, which becomes a greater distraction to drivers. So we tried to make it big enough that people can read it. They can see that Cardiology Associates is in there. They can get where they need to go. Typically when people are having a cardiac issue or chest pains or that type of thing, they're, you know, it's important for whoever's driving them to know where they're going.
Mr. Wheeler, I'm
Yep.
sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Wheeler. How long has Cardiology Associates of Schenectady St. Peter's been present in the building?
I don't know the exact timeline they've been there. St. Peter's bought the practice from Ellis probably 3-4 years ago.
And there's been cardiologists in the building for a longer period of time than that?
Yes.
And they've never had a sign like this displayed on the building, correct?
Nope. And it's been an issue with people finding it. And that's why St. Peter's wants to have this sign on the building.
Why could you not just put a large number on the building that's not illuminated?
They want it to be clear that this is Cardiology Associates. You know, it's important that, like I said, when you're having some sort of an issue, that you can find your cardiologist, since it is an urgent care.
So are you saying that it's more for branding or more for building identification?
It's brand recognition, so people recognize that this is Cardiology Associates. You know, are you necessarily going to know the address of your cardiologist? Probably not, but you're going to know, you know, it's on Balltown Road. It's that big building. Yep, there it is. And you're going to go and you're going to find your way into the urgent care that you need to get to.
Now, is this sign illuminated?
Yep, it's internally illuminated. So it's a polycarbonate face, LEDs inside. LEDs have a short throw. It's not like a neon sign or the old fluorescents. LEDs have a very short throw. So the light doesn't cast more than a few feet. So internally illuminated signs aren't what they used to be, where it's like a flashlight beam in your eye. More just makes it light up so you can see it at night.
Well,
Not distracting to
let me ask
drivers.
you this. What are the hours of the cardiac? Is it a 24-hour facility?
It's not 24-hour, no. So the lighting's more important
what are the
in the winter
hours?
months. Say that again?
What are the hours?
I don't know the exact hours.
Okay. Yeah, primarily it's going to be during the day it's going to be open.
Yes.
So why does it need illumination at all?
The winter months when it's dark at 4:30, they're still going to be open. So we do need to have illumination.
Are you sure
So-
they're going to be open that late? Or are they going to be open at 6:30, 7 o'clock?
I don't know the exact time, but in the winter it'll be dark and they will be open. You know, we could put a timer on this and shut it off at 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock or, whatever makes sense.
Now, what percentage of the building does the cardiologist occupy in the property?
They have one floor of the
Okay.
building. It's a
And who
3-story building.
Who occupies the other floor?
I don't know who the other tenants all are.
There's multiple other tenants.
There are, yes.
What happens when those tenants want to put signs on the building?
I mean, it's case by case basis. It's up to you guys. Are the other tenants running a cardiac urgent care? No. The importance of this tenant having the sign is significant.
And they're a tenant to the building. They don't own the building, correct?
Correct.
Are there other members of the board that have questions?
Good evening, sir. Richard Green. Did you have an opportunity to speak with any of the residential neighbors about this proposed signage?
I personally did not talk to the neighbors, no.
Do you have any knowledge of anyone on behalf of the St. Peter's Partners Group or the Cardiology Associates of Schenectady having any conversations with any of the residential neighbors?
No, we didn't reach out to the neighbors. This would be their opportunity. They were noticed, so they're more than welcome to come to the meeting.
Well, thank you. So the answer is no, and as far as you know, no, correct?
Correct. It's not typically what we would do. We'd notice them so they can come to the meeting.
Very good, thank you.
Are there any other members of the board that have questions?
Yeah, Mr. Hope, question here. Sir, have you guys talked to the owner, landlord, of figuring a way, instead of every tenant put a sign, to have one big sign for the entire building? Have you talked to the landlord at all?
What do you mean, like naming the building type thing?
Well, it sounds to me that everybody wants to put a sign as a tenant. Did you guys figure a way maybe to put one main sign in front of the building for all the tenant, having it done through the landlord instead of having every tenant come into the zoning board trying to put a sign, etc.? Have you guys talked to the landlord at all?
We have not, because right now, St. Peter's is the only tenant that's asking for a wall sign.
Okay, but earlier when Mr. Hoke asked you, you said there is other tenants in there?
There are other tenants in there, yes, but they're not, as of right now, they're not interested in having a wall sign.
Okay, so that discussion hasn't been taken a place, or it has, and they're not interested in putting signs?
Yep, the landlord knows about this and he was in favor. There was no other interest in a sign that we knew of.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hope.
Mr. Wheeler, getting back to the actual sign, Laura, if you could put up the image of the sign or the mock-up of the sign that's included in the package. Mr. Wheeler, you can see that, correct?
Yes.
How did we reach the conclusion as to what size sign was appropriate?
We tried different sizes on the computer. We tried 8 square feet, what's allowed. Obviously, that wasn't readable at all. St. Peter's has a logo lockup you see on the left, and then they have their font and their colors that are required. All 200 of their sites in the Capital District have this color combination lockup and fonts. So in order to keep that lockup any smaller, and the letters just got small enough to the point where they weren't going to be readable.
Well, I guess that's my point. I mean, I see the mock-up that's really readable when it's enlarged on the paper, but when it's superimposed on the building, it doesn't appear to be really readable in the mock-up in the first place. I mean, wasn't the intent of the sign to provide the branding and the identification for people coming up and down Balltown Road? And I guess my concern is, does it even accomplish that?
I mean, you'll be able to read Cardiology Associates of Schenectady. The logo lockup, people recognize the little red logo. They'll know it's a St. Peter's practice. The color combination is also a telltale sign that it's a St. Peter's practice, but you'll be able to read Cardiology Associates of Schenectady.
Well, I mean, I know you're saying that, but I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I can't read it. So what am I missing? Is this not an accurate depiction of the sign, or?
It's as good as we can get it. On paper, it's a little fuzzy. The picture itself's kind of fuzzy. I don't know if it's been scanned or whatnot, but it's not a super clear picture.
Okay, because I mean, one of the goals is, or one of the standards, as I'm sure you're aware, is is the applicant actually achieving the goal here with respect to the benefit that he's seeking to achieve? I mean, I'm looking at it and I have questions as to whether that's even going to accomplish the goal you're seeking.
Yeah, I'm confident you'll be able to read the Cardiology Associates. Like I said, the St. Peter's lockup, people recognize the red logo. The words are pretty small, but unfortunately, St. Peter's and their parent company, Trinity Health, won't let us deviate from that. So our objective is to have Cardiology Associates readable.
Okay. Are there any other questions for any other members of the board? Does any member of the public wish to be heard for or against this application? Sir, if you're going to speak, you have to come up to the microphone. And if you could just state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name's Keith Money. I live at 6 Troy Place in Escuna. Not so much on the issue of the sign itself, the variance that's being asked for, but the visual. I work as a Lyft driver, so I buy this building all the time. My cardiologist is in this building. My eye doctor is in this building. Image Care is in this building, so I'm quite familiar with the property. I think for traffic that is southbound on Balltown Road, this would be an eye catcher that would say, yes, this is a building I'm looking for. I think it would be less effective for people northbound on Balltown Road for the reason that as you cross River Road, you have that church on your right-hand side. You also have this lane where the traffic comes in off of River Road and merges onto Balltown Road. And anybody that's trying to get to this property is looking for that little stanchion sign there. And even knowing that it's there, I see people all the time suddenly hit the brakes because you have that big line of trees that is on the south side of this property. And it obscures most of the building if you're on Balltown Road until you are almost at the driveway. So as far as effectiveness goes, I think for traffic in one direction, it would achieve its purpose. In the other direction, you would have all this obstruction from foliage. So just my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to be heard for or against this application? Having heard none, is there anyone who wishes to make a motion to approve or deny the variance? I am going to make a motion to deny the variance. I believe that the means that the applicants identified, the signage, the scope of the signage, while it's large, there are questions as to whether it would even accommodate the goals of the applicant. So therefore, I think that there's alternatives that it could accomplish the same goals with respect to building identification and practice identification that could be explored by the applicant that haven't been explored. I do believe that there's the sign would create an undesirable change in the neighborhood. Historically, Niskayuna has limited signage on buildings, and this sign, while not accomplishing the means, in my opinion, that are intended, would also create an undesirable change in the neighborhood in that we would have a tenant putting an extremely large sign on a building, which would only encourage other tenants to do the same or request the same. I do believe that just the sheer scope of the sign creates a substantial variance request. And there is the possibility of adverse physical or environmental effects on the neighborhood and district. I don't know that it's been explored or the applicant has explored the impact of traffic safety with respect to this sign, the size of the sign, and what impact that would have on the very busy Balltown Road. I think the neighbor or the community member who spoke already spoke of confusion with respect to the traffic flow and trying to get into this property. I don't necessarily think that signage at the location in and of itself is something that shouldn't be explored. I just believe that this existing sign as it's proposed could potentially create negative physical or environmental effects on the neighborhood. And this is a self-created issue. I understand that the applicant would like to have branding and signage on the property, as many applicants or many tenants occupying buildings throughout Niskayuna would. But to the extent that they want to place a sign on the building in significant excess in terms of size as well as illumination and materials, I believe that that this is self-created and would create an undesirable change in the neighborhood. For those reasons, unfortunately, my vote would be, or I would move to deny the variance. A motion's been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman, I second the motion. And just going to add a couple more things to it. My concern will be that this could lead to more tenant signage in the future. And also still would like to recommend that maybe all the tenants should talk to the the owner or the landlord and try to work on one big signage for all the tenant in the building. But for all the reason that you stated, I'm going to second the motion to deny this application.
A motion has been made and seconded. Do we have a call the roll?
We just wanted to clarify, the motion was for all the variances.
That's correct. And Mr. Latifa, you were seconding a motion for.
I'm second the motion for all the variances.
Okay, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mr. Lataif,
I'm going to say yes on the motion to deny.
Mr. Green,
For the reasons stated, yes on the motion to deny.
Mr. Antonikowski,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Chairperson Hoag.
Yes, for the reasons stated. Mr. Wheeler, unfortunately, your application's been denied by a vote of 4-0.
Yep. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other matters before the board this evening? Having heard none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Latifa, are you coming in with opposition?
I'm good.
All right,
Aye,
thank you.
I'm good. I did mute all the time when I was coughing, so it was good.
All right, we'll see you in July, Mr. Latifa.
Yes, thank you, guys. Have a good month.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.